What's going on, guys? I want to welcome you back to another Alpha Destiny exclusive. In this edition, I'll be sharing with you my top 5 training mistakes that have negatively impacted me throughout the years. So I'm sharing this information because I don't want you to repeat the things that I've done, because after all, history is known to repeat itself. So if you want to save years of bad times and you just want to have perfect gains throughout your journey, listen to what I have to say. So let's start breaking this down. My first mistake, I would have to say this is number one of all, right? Is the fact that I used to run a lot of minimalist programs. Holy shit, that is a regret. I mean, it's a regret for me, but it's actually good for you because I'm here to share with you that minimalist training is not good for drug-free lifters. It is not optimal whatsoever when you start becoming more intermediate and advanced. You see, when you're a novice lifter, you can pull it off fairly easily. That's why even my novice program is of a minimalist nature. But as you become more advanced, you start seeing problems with it, man. In particular, linear periodization. Oh my fucking god. I got so many plateaus following that type of system. I had so many plateaus. It was ridiculous. Like right now, you know me as Alex from Alpha Destiny, the guy who makes PRs every fucking week, right? Well, guess what? There was a time where I didn't have that going on for me. There was a time where I was having plateaus every single week. My strength was regressing. My joints were feeling like shit. I was feeling beat up. Oh yeah, I used to have lower back pain. I used to have terrible lower back pain. I used to have my brother sit on my back. I used to have my sister sit on my back. For real. I used to do the deep tissue massaging shit. Today I do none of that stuff, obviously. I had shoulder pains. I had all kinds of back pains, lower back especially, from minimalist training. Even the knees. I used to take a steel barbell, roll out my quads because they were hurting so much. Minimalist training, literally, it turned me into an injury magnet. So I was attracting injuries left and right, and I was having no strength gains from it. I think I was plateaued at a 4-plate deadlift for like 2 years. Close to 2 years anyways, a long fucking time. My strength would never go up doing it. So honestly, I don't like minimalist training. I highly suggest you don't do it. I say milk it for what it is right now. So if you're running a novice program, milk it. If you can do a linear setup for a long time, like LP, linear periodization, do it. But the moment you start having plateaus, cut that shit loose right the fuck away, because I didn't do that and I highly regret it, man. I would have been so much stronger today had I run a more maximized approach. And when I say maximized, I'm referring to more sets and reps, not just manipulating percentage of your 1 rep max, right? And I'm also talking about exercise selection. Back then, I would just do the big 3 for the most part. I would do squat, bench press, deadlift. I would manipulate the percentages. Sometimes I would introduce heavy, light, medium elements. And the result is that I never made strength gains. I never made strength gains. And now that I started doing concurrent, it's been over 2 years of consistent fucking gains every time I train. Advanced lifter, constant gains, no problem. So I don't like linear. I'm not a super fan of undulating, but it could be run if you use a higher exercise selection. But minimalist training in general is going to give you minimalist results. You can do it now if you're novice intermediate, but I'm telling you, as you become stronger, you're going to plateau like fucking crazy. Your joints are going to hurt. Your strength's not going to go up. It's a terrible, terrible thing. So I would never recommend minimalist training ever again. And I'm not the only one who made this realization, by the way. I know Johnny Candido, same thing happened to him. He was stuck at a 315 bench for over a year. And then a bunch of guys started giving me advice. They're like, yo, Johnny, man, you got to start doing your close grip bench, overhead press, JM press, all this shit. And he started incorporating different movements. Lo and behold, it was a few months later, he popped a 340 bench. You see? So minimalist training, I'm telling you guys, if you're drug-free and you have average genetics, you're going to plateau hard. Very, very hard. So don't do it. So that's that. Let's move on to the next mistake, which is the fact that I did not train my neck up until recently. It's only been like a little bit over a year. I think like a year and 4 months or some shit that I'm training my neck. Back then, I did 0 neck work. And the result was a 14.5-inch pencil neck. Today, it is 19 flex. Actually, it went down in size because I started doing the slow tempo shit. But that's another point altogether, right? But anyway, my neck has increased dramatically in size, over 4 inches of size on it because I started doing direct work. Back then, I didn't do direct work, which is a huge fucking mistake. Guys, if you're a novice lifter, if you're new to the gym, congratulations, because you don't have to repeat what I did. Train your neck from the get-go. Please, train your neck. You're going to regret it later in life, man. Had I trained my neck since the start, like many fucking years ago, close to a decade ago, I would have over 20 inches by now. My neck would be so fucking swole, you guys would be blown the fuck away. But I didn't do it because I thought it was stupid. I thought it was blowjob resistance training. And of course, it wasn't even that popular. Even though there was a 4-weight neck machine in my gym, which most people would kill for, I never used it. I think I used it once or twice, but after that I was like, oh, fuck it, fuck neck, who cares about it? Oh boy, that's a terrible mistake. So guys, don't be lazy on your neck. If you're starting out the training, train your fucking neck. If you're an intermediate and advanced, train it, because you're gonna regret it later in life, because one day you're gonna realize you have a little pencil neck and you want to bring it up, and by that point it's like everything else dwarfs it, you know? Like just look at Scooby 1961. Dude has a skinny fucking neck, man. I'm sorry. It makes him look not too impressive. He has this big bulky body, but with that skinny neck, dude, it's like it ruins the look. What you want is that Bill Goldberg type of neck. Even though it might not be possible drug-free, that's what you want to search for, right? So don't make the mistake that I did. Train your fucking neck. Next mistake, which is not using bands. Bands, guys, holy shit. That revolutionized my training. The moment I got, because the thing is, I was always brainwashed by the fitness community, especially the powerlifters, the raw powerlifters. They would say that bands are for geared lifters. That you shouldn't use bands as a raw lifter. And I took their advice for years. And the result is that I always had plateaus. I noticed my explosiveness was never as good as it wanted to be. I had lockout issues. It was never good. But then one day, actually, I was on the bus and metro, right? And I was bored. And I had the Westside Barbell Book of Methods on my phone. I decided to read it, right? Because I was like, fuck it. Let me just read it. I'm bored. And then everything that Louis Simmons was saying, I was like, holy shit. This guy knows what he's talking about. I read through the whole book in like one day, man. I think I sped through that. Like I read through that shit. It was a massive. From there on, I became obsessed with the work of Louis Simmons. I started reading all his books, all his articles. I've read multiple, like all of his articles on the website. I've read it multiple times. You know, I have all his books. I bought his books. I became obsessed with Louis. I read all this. I watched all his podcasts. Fucking phenomenal information. One thing that he always preached was bands, 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 bands. And look, when you read a physics book, it makes sense why bands work. It makes total sense. You know, it prevents bar deceleration. It strengthens all joint angles evenly. It includes overspeed eccentrics, which induces a powerful stretch reflex, which makes you stronger out of the hole. Like, there's so many fucking benefits to using bands, man. And the moment I started using those bands, I shit you not, my bench just shot up. My bench made so many gains at a fast rate. It was fast, man. Same thing for the deadlifts. I started doing speed pulls. I started doing maxing out with bands. And next thing you know, my shitty deadlift, which was bad genetics apparently, rose very, very fast. And this year you saw me pull 585. Well, doing the deadlift with bands was a big contributor to that. And I had a lot of guys saying at the time, Alex, you should stop doing these band stuff. Just do straight weight. Sorry, dude. I did that for years and it can't compare to bands. Like, I would say this. If you're doing a close grip bench, throw some fucking bands on, man. If you're going to do deadlift, throw on some bands. Whenever you have the opportunity to use bands, do it. Sometimes you could double it. Sometimes you could do it a single band. But bands are so crucial to development. I would always recommend them for drug-free lifters who are seeking maximum size and strength. They are so good. Like, wow. It revolutionized my training. So bands are definitely a must-have if you're in this training for the long term. Seriously. The fourth mistake is that I didn't really emphasize GPP and volume work. You're going to regret this later in life too, man, because if you don't do your volume work, you're never going to maximize your work capacity gains. And of course, you have to understand that volume work makes you stronger. When I started doing 20 rep squats, my squats started blowing up in fucking strength. I was getting mad strong from doing that shit. When I started doing high rep rack pulls, I was getting stupid strong. When I started doing high rep rows, 3 sets of 28 rows, stuff like that. 5 sets of 20 barbell shrugs, power shrugs with like over 400 pounds. I started getting massive from doing that shit. Volume work, literally, it changed my life because I was always told that doing high volume is for drug users. That only guys who do splits should be doing high volume. And that if you're natural, you got to keep the volume on the medium side, medium to low. And I did that for a long time, and it's a terrible thing to do. You want to, and that's again why I'm a big fan of concurrent periodization. You have the volume day and the intensity. I say do both. Like back then, I used to do a lot of triples, lots of fives, lots of 5x5s. I never really dwelled into the higher rep ranges and the higher sets. Nowadays, my volume work is like all fucking high reps. It's all 4 sets of 25, 3 sets of 33, 3 sets of 20, 5 sets of 20. I go mad high on my shit. So all you guys saying, oh, Alex, you look the way you do because you don't do high reps, you don't do volume work, you're wrong. I do more volume work than you, I bet. Like my volume days will fucking kill somebody, man. They are so intense. You guys who own Naturally Enhanced, you know what I'm talking about. It's fucking ridiculous, right? So volume work is a must do if you're trying to get stronger. So make sure that you do that volume work, right? And that's also going to include the GPP. GPP will further raise your work capacity. It's going to assist your recovery. It's a must do for a natural lifter. It really is. So it could be whatever you like. For me, I like doing calisthenics because that's what I'm most familiar with. But if you want to do sled pulls, prowler pushes, farmer walks, bear hug walks, all that stuff works. But make sure that you do your conditioning work. You can even do like stuff at home, you know, boxing rounds, you know, like the Bas Rutten 30-minute boxing rounds. That's perfect for GPP, you know. Muay Thai, MMA, all that shit is phenomenal. But make sure you're doing some form of conditioning. You don't want to be running out of breath all the time. You don't want to be resting like 8 minutes between a fucking set. I used to do that too, by the way. When I was not doing my volume work, I was always resting. It would take me 45 minutes to do a 5 sets of squat, right? But now it's like my squats are fast. Actually, I don't do squats anymore. I do rack pulls and deadlifts. But either way, my workout is go, go, go because I built up the volume. I rest low amounts of time now, and it's a beautiful thing. So make sure you do your volume work. Make sure you do your GPP. It's very important, right? So with that said, let's move on to the final training mistake, which is the fact that I did a ton of perfect, slow and controlled shrugs and rows. Wow. Guys, this does fuck all as drug-free lifting. For the most of you, like, it's not going to do anything, man, because you have to understand that weighted stretch is the key to getting jacked. I only made this realization years after training hard, you know? Weighted stretching is so key. Like, when you're lowering the weight down with a super heavy stretch, it's so incredible, man. That's how my traps got bigger. The power shrugs, the rack pulls, it's all stretch, dude. And I've always said the following argument, which you've heard me say a million times. If farmer walks and deadlifts work, how can you tell me that weighted stretching doesn't work? You see my point? So, stretch is everything, dude. Cheat rows, you want to be explosive. You want to use body English. You want to get the catching phase, getting the stretch. For your shrugs, you want to be doing power shrugs. You want to do everything explosive, using your whole body to lift the weight. That's going to give you real gains on rows and shrugs. You'll be able to double and triple the weights that you never used. For real. It's going to be a beautiful freaking thing. If you're shrugging 400, you'll be doing 600 when you start power shrugging. And it's just going to keep going up in strength from there. You can make very fast gains when using total body momentum. Similar to a power clean. We know that power cleans build the traps. Power clean is an explosive movement. It's a full body movement, yet it builds the traps. So all these guys saying, oh, well, you're not isolating. Shut the fuck up, man. You're stretching, whether you're isolating or not, on the way down, you are stretching that shit with heavy-ass load. So make sure, I say cheat rows and cheat shrugs are imperative to getting jacked. They are, like, if you want to really maximize your yoke development, this is what's going to take you there. Slow and controlled, squeezing, especially for the traps, those fuck off. Upper back, some of you might be lucky if you're using like 150-pound dumbbells, slow and controlled. I could see that happening. But for the traps, I doubt that your slow and controlled shrugs with 100-pound dumbbells is going to change anything. You need to use very heavy weight, power shrugs, stuff like that. You know, same thing for neck work. Do fast neck work, all right? Like your head banging. And that's also going to lead me on to the fact that when you do these cheat rows and cheat shrugs, you're going to require straps. You see, for years I used to say that straps were for pussies, that there's in the jungle there are no straps. You know, all those cliche phrases. And the result is that I didn't get as yoked as I could have been because the grip is not as strong as your back and traps. The traps are one of the strongest muscle groups in the entire human body. You can hold over 1,000 pounds, they're not going to rip off. It's not going to happen. How many times do you hear a guy tearing his trap? Doesn't happen. And the upper back is strong as fuck too, man. You can lift over 1,000 pounds. So if your upper back and traps have this potential, this strength potential, why the fuck are you going to limit it by your grip? Use some straps, dude. And that's another thing. Get good straps. I use the Iron Mind wrist straps. I'm not affiliated. And I think they're fantastic. I used to use these cheap leather straps. They were fucking garbage. They ripped off. I had all kinds of issues. So straps are imperative if you're going to do cheat rows, cheat shrugs, any like really, really heavy movement. I would not lift without. That's a huge mistake right there. But yeah, man, all I'm trying to say is that slow and control can suck my balls, really. It's so stupid. Do it fast. And of course, make sure you're an intermediate advanced lifter. If you're a novice, you shouldn't be cheating and stuff. But if you can be very explosive, you get the stretch aspect going on, you're going to get stupid, huge yoke gains. It's going to be out of this world. Trust me on that. So with that said, those are my top 5 training mistakes. I hope that you learned something. I want to know. I want to know, guys. What are your top 5 training mistakes? I would love to see a discussion going on in the comment section. Let me hear what your mistakes are so you can help out other people. We're all about helping people over here, right? I'm sharing with you my mistakes. Now it's your time to share me your mistakes. Let's help some people. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. With that, I'll talk to you all next time.